Call the meeting to order. Brenda, would you read the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Mayor Jackson,
Here.
Mr. Heflin,
Here.
Mr. Lopez,
Here.
Mr. Lucero, absent, Mr. Miller.
Here.
Ms. Parker. Here. Mr. Robinson,
Here.
Mr. Bowen,
Here.
Ms. Cordova. Here.
Mr. Lucero, not here. I didn't hear from him. Did you hear from him?
Yeah,
Thank
he said he wouldn't make it.
All righty. So next item is the invocation and the pledge of allegiance. If you'll all stand, Oscar standing up and lead us in the invocation. And I'll lead us all, but Oscar.
Thank you, Mayor. Father in heaven, we come to you again tonight to ask you to continue to bless our community. Continue to watch over our employees as they go about their daily chores. We ask you to watch over the leadership of the community. We ask you to stay with the mayor and in his trials. We come to you in this name, in the name of the Father and the Son. Amen.
Amen. Thanks, Oscar.
Allegiance to the United States of America. I salute the flag and state of Mexico. And see a perfect friendships among the United States.
Good job. I'm fine.
Please.
All right. Next item is minutes of the previous meeting that was from March 28th, 2023. Packet. Entertained action to approve the minutes, please.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Parker, second by Mr. Bowen. All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, couple of presentations. Employee of the month for March 2023. Becky Ward. Where's Becky? There she is.
I just,
Good meeting, sir. Where you working?
I work for solid waste company chief for the department.
Get your hands full later.
yeah, she does a really good job with the solid waste department, convenience center, helping out Kevin when Kevin's not here. We got complaints on dumpsters and alleys and whatnot, and she helps coordinate getting the cleanup of that done. She does an outstanding job, is always available when we need it and willing to step in where she needs to be. And she drives a trash truck like she owns it.
I can vouch for that.
That's good.
You have to move Jake out of the way.
Good job, Miss Vic.
Presentation for you. For you. It's for the city of Dallas, employee of the month, is awarded to Becky Ward for her exemplary work performance in solid waste department for the month of March 2022. Next item is items on the consent agenda. Oh, I apologize. Kelly, I'm skipping your presentation. Looking right at it here. Kelly.
Yes, sir. I'm gonna keep mine really short because I know you guys get tired of hearing me talk. The airport is interested in having some community involvement, since it's kind of out by itself. So we went to the high school, we asked high school if they'd be interested in doing some stuff. They're gonna present the mural. This is part of the student council, so they're gonna get some experience working in the student government. If you guys would like to go up right there, you can explain your design. The design will be approved in the consent agenda, but they're just gonna, it's gonna be on city property for you guys.
Hey, sure, spell who you are.
Hi, my name is Ray Reese. I'm the president of the student council at Picalis High School. My name is Juliana Coda, I'm just a member of the student council. So we're seniors this year. We were asked to do a mural at the airport. So I made this drawing just really quick. We became aware of a few changes. So I mean, it's subject to change a little bit, but the premise of it is that it'll have the RAM on it, which I'm thinking it'll actually be turned on its side.
So it'll have the RAM and it'll say senior class of 23, and we'll get everybody out there one of these days and we'll do handprints and everybody will sign their name. And it'll be an activity for the seniors. And what I'm hearing is that they'll come back and do it every year. So it's gonna be a new tradition.
Great. Did that at LL
Any
Brown.
questions?
We were in first grade a few years back. Was it LL Brown?
Yes.
We had some first graders or kindergartners. do that. I think it's a great idea. Girls, thank you. Very
It's gonna
much.
be
It's
really
a
big.
Great
40 by
presentation.
56.
Any councilman have comments?
No, and that
I'm
has,
just noticing it's gonna be really big. So you're saying it's gonna be 66 feet? Is that right? What is
Yes,
that?
40 by 66 is what I'm told.
We have an abandoned island at the airport that's just this very ugly slab of concrete and it used to be. And we don't have the
Okay.
funds to take it down, so we thought we'd do something constructive with it.
Okay, very good. Okay, thank you. Good job. Thank you.
Thank you guys for having us.
Thank you all for being here.
Thanks for
Good
being
job.
Good job.
Congratulations. Now the consent agenda items. 3 and 4. 3 different items. First item, criminal cannabis LLC's manufacturing application. Mr. Gay. Limited his water to 9,000 gallons a month. Blackwater Agriculture. The permit for microgrew operation limited to 4,000 gallons a month. Approval of the mural. Questions, I would ask for.
I got one question.
Go ahead.
On our resources and services request, it says potable water. We expect to use an average of 625,000 gallons of water per month.
No, that's incorrect. That's the original application that was brought in. I included that so that there would be no mistake between them. I had to come down and redo that. That was a crossover from another application they were making. Their revised request was much lower than that, and they did not. That's the 9,000 gallons.
Okay, yeah, 'cause that's a huge difference.
Yeah.
That was included so there'd be transparency in the application.
Probably a difference in the way I voted. That amount of
Water, 625 down to 9,000.
Yes, sir.
I did attend this meeting on the 28th, I believe, 29th, and it was approved by all committee members.
And that's all 3 of them, I'm assuming, probably,
Just
Except,
one, 1 and 2. yeah.
1 and 2, thank you.
So those 3 items are on this consent agenda. I would entertain action on those items. Move for approval.
Mayor, I'm sorry, you need a motion to put them on the consent agenda, which has to be ratified, and then a motion to approve them.
Yeah, I make a motion, we'll put these 3 items on the consent agenda.
Second,
Motion to put the items on the consent agenda by Mr. Miller, a second by Mr. Heffernan. All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Need a roll call? You want a roll call on that?
Yeah.
Yes,
Roll call on that.
Yes, sir. Mr. Heflin,
yes.
Mr. Lopez,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Ms. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Bowen,
Yes.
Ms. Cordova.
Yes.
So those items are on the consent agenda. Now we can take action on those items on the consent agenda.
I make a motion that we approve the 3 items on the consent agenda.
Second,
Second by Mr. Heffernan.
Do I need to put with the correction of the
No, it's on here
on there? Okay, very good.
it's correct.
Gonna roll call again?
Yep.
Parker?
Yes, sir. Mr. Heflin,
yes.
Mr. Lopez,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Ms. Parker. Yes. Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Bowen,
Yes.
Ms. Cordova.
Yes.
Thank you. I apologize. I'll read my Robert rules so I'll be a little more educated on it. I apologize to everybody. Let's moving on to the next item. It's action items.
Resolution 22-23-39, New Mexico State Fire Marshal's Municipal Fire Protection Fund application, chief.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor and Council. As you mentioned, this is our annual submission for the State Fire Marshal's Fire Protection Fund application, which requires your electronic signature. We're requesting that the council approve that for your electronic signature. The anticipated funding minimum amount is $218,920, but does not reflect any additional amounts that may be calculated. All funds that are received go into our Fund 209. And I'll stand for any questions.
Question for the chief. Anything action in this resolution, please?
Motion to approve resolution 22-23-39.
Second.
Carla, would you read the roll, please?
Yes. Mr. Heflin,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Bowen,
Yes.
Ms. Cordova.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right, that's an item of approval to enter into contract negotiations with Nova Global for traffic enforcement. Chief.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, Council. Yes, we're just requesting the authorization to look into further in the opportunity with Novoa Global for the traffic cameras. So we're just asking for that approval to enter into negotiations with them without a commitment at this time. And I also have some other information for you guys. I came to, this is from the Albuquerque. Just kind of showing how the cameras have been.
They have an operation up there, the same similar kind, or is it
The
a
same
different?
company and everything, and
Do they have them in the school zones, or where do they
they've
have
got
theirs?
all over the place. I think they said they're up to 40 systems up there now. They've been seeing some success with the number dropping. I've given you guys in the packets, you should have gotten some brief on it, and the ultimate thing comes down to it cost the city nothing. And if we don't like it, then at the end of the contract period, we discontinue it.
So we're not approving anything other than to let you negotiate, and then you'll bring the contract back to us once
Yes,
you settle in.
Got a question. or two. Could you just kind of walk me through? We issue a citation to the registered owner. What goes on from there?
right. Well, first thing we would have to do is we would have to approve an ordinance, very similar to what our code enforcement ordinance is. Similar to how we cite the homeowner, not the resident.
Mhm.
It's essentially creating another nuisance ordinance. At which point in time, the company would mail them their form, they can log into the computer, watch their violation video, and then like with any other citation, they can take their options from there.
Will it show a picture of their face?
No, just the license plate and the vehicle with the video as it traveled through. With the radar indication as well as the,
Time of day and all that, where
Yes.
the location was. So.
Right.
So the family member.
So don't lend your car out.
yeah, if they want to say it wasn't them, they can tell us who it was. Or if the vehicle was stolen, things like that. You know, there's the due process with it, as what there is with any other citation. Right.
It was a due process if that's still.
Yes, sir.
I have one.
Okay.
If and when we go through with this, is there a way where we can all get together to see where we think the best placing for that is, or are y'all doing traffic control to see that?
That's why last year we did the
Those
studies where obviously they're not gonna want to put them someplace where it's not gonna create the funding to pay for the system. But any funding that we might see from it, we can reinvest back into the community, such as replacing existing school zone lights, putting the flashing lights with the radars down on the square or elsewhere in town, anything like that.
Okay.
So,
And the only reason I'm asking is because we've been having, on Ivy, how they blow back past that stop sign on
Yes.
J. There, it's getting bad again there, so if you could just have your guys patrol there,
Okay.
thank you.
You may have answered this in the presentation. If we decide we're gonna do an intersection like that for a four-way stop or for speeding or whatever. Is the signage there warning the drivers that? That's
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We would put signage on the way into town and then in the specific areas as well.
Okay, so I have a question now too. So is there like a program? Is there like software that we would be in charge of that? So
Yes, ma'am.
Once a citation has been issued and sent to them, then when they pay it, does that go, how does that process work
Okay.
as far as not a cost to the city, but do we get something from it at all?
Right. Yes, ma'am. So an officer actually has to log in and view the violation and select to issue the citation. So an officer is doing that part, not the computer. We select what parameters we want it to say. It's gonna flag these violations as warnings, ignore these lower ones, obviously, because 1 or 2 miles an hour is definitely not worth it. But we set the parameters for where we want it to go, and then this company actually has an algorithm that will identify based off the traffic patterns, the highest percentage of violations. If we want the top 10 violation percentages, it'll single out those ones for that. So
What if they no longer live at that address? Haven't been-
that'll be up to that company to determine it, because what it is they'll collect the fees. And then they will obviously take their part to pay for the system and then send the city the remaining amount.
So, no, so if I get issued a ticket, but I no longer live at the house where my vehicle is registered, what's gonna happen?
Well, if they're repeat violators, we can go sit in the area and put an officer there, cite them into court and then address it with the judge.
But we just
What
lose
if they
that.
move out of state? What if they
Right.
move away? Is there any kind of record that goes on their record for this violation or no?
It's a civil complaint. It's just like it is with marijuana now. It's not a criminal action. It's not a traffic violation. It doesn't go on the driver's record. It's just, and they kind of account for that when they figure whether or not it'll from theirs. I think they figured almost 50% non-collected rates. But I mean,
So I guess I'm just asking, so I get a ticket, I'm just not gonna pay it, it's civil. So
eventually that company will turn them into collections.
So what if an airman no longer lives, I'm just using an airman in general, because the cannon's here, but no longer lives there, we're gonna turn it into collections and affect his credit score for something that he didn't know about?
Well, I mean, that's forwarding addresses, things like that. It should, if they don't live there by the time we get the citation to them, then there's probably something else there.
They're not under obligation to change their registration.
No. But I mean, we're not in it for the money anyway. We just want people to slow down. So the fact that it doesn't cost us anything is key.
I agree on that, I just think we need to
Yeah.
put officers on the streets and stuff.
Anyway, let's raise the rate.
We can do both of this. We can put an officer in one school zone while they're checking violations on the computer. Because with 6 schools, that means we would have to have a minimum of 6 officers to put one into each school at each day. And I mean, just like the high school, there's at least 3 major, or the junior high, there's at least 3 major school zones, Chicago, 3rd and Abilene. I mean, if we were to put somebody everywhere, it'd be a lot of officers, a lot more than the city would be able to have.
The only option they have is to pay the ticket, they can't face.
No, they can go to court. It's just like any other ticket. You have the option to talk to the judge, try to get community service, get it deferred, any of that stuff.
It's a piece of machine,
The officers who issue the citation.
that they. There's a article on KRQE 5 months ago, Albuquerque removed their speed cameras because they're issuing speeding tickets for the wrong speed limits. Just
That's why the officers have to go in, view it, make sure everything is right, and then it's an officer issuing the citation.
Or this company was just sending that citation or the notice or whatever.
Yeah, and I'm not sure which company they used before.
And it's something that we would have to make sure that we have our speed limits posted.
They'll all be posted, yes, ma'am. And everything will be there. It'll catch that the lights are flashing on the school zones. So.
Okay.
Good, Oscar.
You mentioned 6 schools, what about the university?
They don't have school zones on the university.
In front of the administration building, there's a speed zone 30 miles an hour between the red light and the red light. So why wouldn't that be one of your target places?
That's Chief Malden's area there.
State highway though, we have to get approval.
I wouldn't. He probably knows there's chief weed.
No, I'm not trying to put you on. trial.
Right.
I'm just wondering.
Well, it's not a-
School zone, and the university is a big school zone, and they have a speed limit from 30 miles an hour in front of the school. So why wouldn't that be one of the?
It's not one of the areas that we check because of complaints or anything. We could get with the company if we wanted
It's state
to.
highway. It's state highway, so it's not in our jurisdiction.
It's not in our jurisdiction, chief.
No, it's a state highway. We would have to obtain consent, just like we will for Third or Avenue C by James. I'm sorry, Brown. We have to get the state's authorization. Albuquerque just entered into an MOU because they just put in, I can't remember how many more systems from this company in Albuquerque. But yeah, I mean, I hadn't addressed anything at the university because that's where Chief Malden's people are at, and I'm not didn't want to go step on his toes.
I guess I can deal with chief and you on this in a different.
I mean, if there's issues there, I'm sure we can look into them as well. Just whether it be get the box back from this company if we wanted to in the future, but I also don't think we're looking to put 20 systems in town. I think we were hoping to just get a little bit in some of the major areas and
Were we
then
looking at 10? Is that what you talked about?
it would be 10 cameras but that would be like 8 to 10 because unless it's a one-way, you'd need 2 cameras, one for each direction. So
And we could add if we needed.
we could add, once the contract's up, we can do away with them. If we don't see there's a need in the future, we can do away with them. But
Any other discussion?
No.
Question asking for approval to enter into a contract negotiation with Noble Global.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Parker, second by Mr. Heflin, all in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Nay.
Two nays. The ayes have it. Third item is the city council appointment of the Roosevelt County Commissioner for negotiations with Roosevelt County regarding city services. Veronica. This item's back.
Mr. Mayor, this item is back on the agenda. We had one of the committee members that has removed himself from the committee, so we need to appoint somebody else. And when Chad and I met, we are coming for a recommendation of Roy Lee Criswell to be appointed onto the negotiations, which will be finishing up fire and dispatch and then move on to the others.
The others being.
Fire and EMS, animal control,
What else did you say?
fire and EMS and animal control,
Anything else is.
anything else that we're negotiating.
Yeah, animal control.
Detention center.
That's coming up. I was just reading some information that came to my life today, but we'll discuss that another time. Roy Lee Criswell is the candidate.
With y'all's blessing, yes, sir. Okay.
Any question or discussion?
No.
Okay, so Roy Lee Criswell is the recommendation from the county and our.
It's an action item. It's listed as an action item. It's going to require a vote.
Yeah, discuss it.
Okay.
Now, man.
No, I didn't know if we were going to vote or not.
Let's vote for Mr. Criswell. Chad, you want to make a motion?
Yeah.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Eflin, a second by Ms. Parker, all in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Opposed, same sign. Have a name. Mr. Lopez wrote the name. And then we have an approval of the revised dispatch agreement between the town and the city of Portage. Veronica?
Mr. Mayor, thank you. I am bringing this revised agreement back. I did go to the meeting that the county did hold with Lee County. It was a good meeting. It was informative, but what was good about it was at the end, we were able to, the both chiefs were able to sit down with the sheriff's department and the, I don't know what his title's called, the
Emergency
undersheriff. What's it?
Emergency manager
Emergency manager and the
and the undersheriff.
undersheriff, yeah. So they all talked about the needs and why and what they were requesting for. So we came back and we met and we decided that we are going to keep it at the 175. We're going to add the advisory committee. Everything that you have is in yellow highlighted. That's the only changes. So the advisory committee, it's only for policy and procedure. They don't manage any of our employees. On page 4, I believe it is, item F. The sheriff's office is going to install a phone tree, and with that phone tree, if it's a 911 service that's a call for service, then we'll be on that call tree, but then they'll have everything else going to their designated space for, you know, if they just need a question answered by their by their office. The term, it's in place from September, retroactive from September 2022 through June 23, and shall continue through 24. And then successful negotiation towards a joint power of agreement, which is what everybody is wanting, the JPA must be reached by no later than June 1st, 2024. And then everything in there, instead of it saying city, county, we just put either party.
Should say, the attorney is recommending it to say each party, so I can change that.
Each party instead of either?
Each.
Okay, so that's the only change. It'll say each party. So I do believe that with having that JPA in there, putting them being able to, you know, reach us for dispatch if it's a call for service, and the advisory council, I do believe that when we go back to them, and I am presenting this at their commission meeting on Tuesday with Chad. So if this is approved by them, then I think with all the changes that they were able to sit down and discuss their needs, I think it's gonna go well.
Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I just want to say I'm very proud of this agreement. I want to thank everyone who worked hard on it. At the time when it was set, I think this is a very fair agreement for our citizens, for the county. It gives us a good starting point, and I support this agreement.
Any other questions or comments for our committee members? And I would just echo those sentiments and appreciate your hard work. You know, as a little taken aback by their meeting with Lee County, felt like that was kind of just a, you know, a jab at us in a way, but that's fine. If we can get this thing worked out, I'm all for it. And I think, you know, again, I'll reiterate, we're all residents of the same county and the same community. We need to work together on all this. So kudos to you, Veronica. And Chad.
That was all Veronica.
You know.
I just sit back and look
Standing
pretty.
in your ass. So, the request is approval for the revised dispatch agreement between Roosevelt County and the city of Fort Dodge.
We'll make a motion to approve the agreement.
Evelyn,
I'll second that.
second by Ms. Parker. Parker, would you read the roll just so we get the minutes?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Heflin,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez,
I don't know what to vote. No.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Ms. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Bowen,
Yes.
and Ms. Cordova? Yes. And I would just like to thank everybody for their hard work on this as well. Whenever I had, you know, questions for the chief and for dispatch. I appreciate all of this. I think with all of us working together, we're gonna get this done.
All right, next item is public input for which no action will be taken. Any matter not known about or which could not have reasonably been foreseen prior to the time of the posting of the agenda. This agenda item for information purposes only. Public comment will be limited to 3 minutes per speaker, limited to one presentation per meeting, and no more than 6 speakers on each subject. Counselors will not respond to comments or answer questions to avoid any violation. Third item is please direct any questions or requests for information to the city manager in writing during regular business hours. Public? Yes.
Mayor, Council, staff. My name is Paul Sarita. I'm with Singleton Clapper. And our firm had made a presentation to you all on PFAS a couple of weeks ago. I have with me today a kind of a question and answer, short one pager that I'll provide to staff. It really kind of outlines kind of the urgency with the contamination issues that are occurring in the county, especially in this city, the well water. Having served in the Marine Corps for about 30 years, I was an environmental lawyer when I was on active duty for about 15 of those years, and dealt with a lot of the issues that you see impact cities. In a situation like this, an opportunity to kind of get whole or, get your citizens on the right path. The clock is ticking because there's ongoing litigation, but it's an opportunity for municipalities across the United States, including municipalities like y'all's, to really, get whole. An opportunity to not demonize the military or the US government, to look at the individuals who made these chemicals and that misled the Air Force, the Marine Corps, the Navy, and everyone. And it created a situation that really is a social justice issue in a way that it impacts smaller counties, it impacts smaller cities. And it's certainly a difficult thing to come to grips with when you see EPA changes their regulations, and now, you're going to have to come out of pocket, come out of hide money that could go to other things that are more important, things that y'all discussed on your agenda here today that help the city run, instead of having to put that money towards compliance issues. Now, nothing's probably more important than the lives of your citizens. I think everyone here would agree. And that's going to be kind of forced upon you. And this is an opportunity, I think, for you all to kind of seek some relief. The federal government's going to provide some money, but in the end, $7 billion is going to be a drop in the bucket by the time every little nibble in the sea gets a piece of it. So I just wanted to take this opportunity to bring that to y'all's attention again. I will provide these one pagers to staff, and I'm happy to answer any questions when the meeting's over if y'all would like.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just stiffened up. I said stiffened up sitting there.
Well, I know.
I didn't say that. I didn't say anything about
I'm feeling good.
it. Tell us who you are, sir.
I'm Stephen Burke. And I'm here to represent the people that are homeless inside Portales, New Mexico. I've written letters to Legacy Church here in Portales, New Mexico. I asked Pastor Abner to help me assist to be able to get the homeless shelter, as well as a soup kitchen and a food bank, and a place to be able to get people to get parts in case they get stranded here. I myself was once homeless at one time back in 1990, when it was my father and I, my mother and father had gotten divorced. He had been homeless for a few weeks, and I figured I'd better come up here and discuss this. I presented this to Pastor Abner at the Legacy Church, asking him to be able to get a homeless shelter built here, as well as a soup kitchen and the food bank and the other thing I mentioned. I don't know how I go about getting these things to getting done, but I don't know how to write up proposals or anything of that nature. I have made myself plain to Pastor Abner, as well as Pastor Sawyer over at Legacy Church in Clovis, as well as Pastor Steve at Legacy Church in Albuquerque. I've written several letters to several churches and throughout this area, and I'm going to continue to be able to do so. I'm asking the council, as well as anything, any government grants that can be helpful to be able to get this project started. And I'm not asking anything from the city, any more than I can use for. I have been asking for preachers to help me, just to be there to help me support this, and back to sitting down. I have worked several times for Hobbs, New Mexico. We have a volunteer program for the food bank over there in Hobbs when I was a young kid. I'm the age of 25.
I also volunteered for the homeless shelter in Hobbs, New Mexico, when I was there when I was a young kid. And I'd just like to make this plain that it's been 14 years since me and my wife had purchased a property here in Portales, just outside the city limits. And we've been using that property and we've housed at least 25 families, including myself and my wife. My father-in-law had been against me doing this for 14 years, and I was bound and determined to prove me wrong. So because of this, I brought my friend and everything who I've housed. His name is Gary. I'd like him to be able to speak of his behalf to the point of the idea about this as well. But we do need a homeless shelter here. And I know of at least 200 families.
Ministerial Alliance.
I have been going through the Ministerial Alliance. I have talked to him several times about this on many occasions. And no one has lifted a finger. In 1991, when I first came here, I had gone to them basically, including the Ben Kilcar Church of Christ and miscellaneous. And I just want to get things done properly.
I appreciate you being here and what you might do is just write up this same little presentation for us and get it to our city manager.
Oh, I sure will. I just didn't know exactly how to go about it.
Do you want to say anything?
Yeah.
Good. Thank you.
I'm Gary Kane from Portales, and I've been homeless for 2 years. I had a job and everything. I was working at Caliban, they shut us down because of COVID. After that, I went to Hamptons to cut us down because of COVID. I lost my house, lost my vehicle. So if it weren't for my brother Stephen Burke, I'd be homeless and on the street. He's been very good. He cooks, he cleans. I help out what I can. I'm 53 years old. I think it's time to build a homeless shelter. Because with him, he's been fighting every day, every night. I help him out when he takes his pills, he's a good guy. But with me, I can't find a job anywhere. I've been out of play for 2 years and I just can't find a job. I need to go to work.
Understood.
So I appreciate if you guys will take into consideration that we need to get this thing built. Thank you.
Good luck. Anybody else in the audience? Don't see anything? Staff? Council? East side, west side? Okay, next item in an executive session. I'd entertain action to convene into a closed meeting to discuss matters as provided under the New Mexico statutes relating to the purchase, acquisition, disposal of real property or water rights and or attorney-client privilege pertaining to threatened or pending litigation.
So moved.
Second. Motion by Ms. Parker, second by Mr. Miller. Roll call.
Yes, sir.
Oh, yes, sorry. That was my yes in a way.
Mr. Lopez,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Ms. Parker. Yes. Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Bowen,
Yes.
Ms. Cordova. Yes.
I got us all covered. All right, so we're in a closed meeting right now. If everybody. In action to convene into open session, please. So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Miller, second by Ms. Cordova. All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. And the third is action as a result of the closed session. There was no action taken, only discussion of the matters. Read before. No action. Anything else from anybody?